Welcome, Houston Gunn. I am so thrilled to have you with us today. I want to thank you so much for being here with us. I want to get right into asking you about your book that you wrote. It's a brilliant book. I couldn't put it down. Schooled for Success, How You Plan to Graduate from High School a Millionaire. Can you tell me a little bit about this book and how it came to be?
Certainly. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And a little bit about my book is I was originally actually challenged to write the book. When I was a freshman in high school, we had to do a job shadow project where you had to shadow somebody in a field of work that interests you. So I actually asked the CEO of a private money lending company if I could job shadow him for the day. And I ended up actually getting a response back saying, yes, I could job shadow him. And during that, I had to do an interview. And during that interview, it kind of led to, he actually said to me that I should write a book on all the experiences and then everything I've done. So I accepted the challenge, and here I am today.
That's wonderful. So your message is that you've got to ask for things you want, right?
Absolutely.
That's the main thing that I got. And can you tell me a little bit about how you learned to ask for things as a young entrepreneur?
Well, I never really started out big, and that's with like most things. You never really start out at the very top or with the biggest thing. You always start small and work your way up. So with me, I just started with simple things like with the CEO I job shadowed, he does a thing about where he talks about like if you're at a restaurant asking for free dessert, which I've done several times, and it's just small things like that then can lead to you later on being able to ask and not being afraid and have fear of asking for maybe bigger things later down in life. And I would just say you got to get out there and do it, because the experience is one of the best things that will be able to help you, because if you don't know what it's like, you probably won't be able to do it very well. So it's just the experience of just always asking.
And just get past that feeling that you feel, because even people like me, when I have to call someone, I interviewed some celebrities, and even calling you, Houston, you're a celebrity in my eyes, and it's a little nerve-wracking at times when you're talking to someone that knows a lot more than you know on a topic. So sometimes it's just good to just get through that feeling, and then the rewards come afterwards.
Absolutely, and some of the things that even kind of came after the job shadow that I asked for, it's kind of like one thing led to another. Then I got this whole, like, I was thinking about writing a book, and I wanted to get more interviews for the book, so I sent out hundreds of requests to very successful business people, athletes, celebrities, and actually, there's actually on the cover of my book a endorsement from Donald Trump, because I actually originally approached and asked for an interview for my book from him, and I was actually, out of all those hundreds of people that I sent a request to, he was my first and only response. So I'm very grateful for that, and it's really helped take my book to a whole nother level, and it kind of goes back to asking for what you want.
Absolutely. Nothing like having an endorsement from Donald Trump on the cover of your book.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, you've learned a lot of things from going to networking events. How can young people take advantage of the things that you've learned from networking events? Where should they go? What should they say? And what should they bring?
Well, really, with things that you should bring to a networking event is you always want to have like a notepad and a pen or something to write with in order to write down notes about every single person you meet, because maybe not everyone has something they can offer you or you can offer them. So you kind of just want to take notes, because you never know who might have something that can potentially help you, or maybe you could help somebody. And you always want to keep track and keep kind of organized notes about who you meet. And another great thing to have is a business card. Like, for example, my business card that I have here is just a simple cover of my book. And
can you show that again one more
absolutely.
time? It showed a little glare here. There you go. Yeah, the cover of your book. Awesome.
Well, just with the business card, it's helped me very times when I've even been, not even necessarily for real estate, which I do, even with music, because I'm also a musician. It's really helped me because I've ended up being able to meet and I've made connections from events where I've just went up and started networking with people and handed in my business card. And another very important thing to do with networking events is after it's over, you never want to forget about the follow-up, because that's what helps really. Sure, let's say at a networking event you met somebody for a few minutes, but that ain't really going to be that much. You always want to make sure you follow up to basically remind them, and they'll remember who you were potentially, and you just kind of want to make that follow-up connection and just see how one of you can either help.
Absolutely, and when you're memorable like you are, Houston, and you have a business card, I think I'll never forget this young man I met in an elevator. He was 14, and he reached out his hand and said, "Hi, my name is Eric." He's 14 years old, and he handed me his card, and I'll never forget that moment. So when you're memorable like you are, then people, you're going to contact them after, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, that was Houston." And so when you're memorable, that's the first key. Be memorable at the event, and then the follow-up, which you say is so important. And you talk about in the book Robert Kiyosaki being an influence. I know that Rich Dad Poor Dad was a huge book in your life. Can you talk a little bit about who told you to read that and how that book has influenced you?
Well, I was actually given the book by the CEO of who I job shadowed, and that book was really my first business and real estate book that I really ever read, and it's kind of big. It was kind of a big influence because it kind of showed me more like it was written down instead of me just kind of going out about it and listening to somebody and taking my own notes. It was something I could kind of refer back to kind of see and then compare from one thing to another to kind of help make more sense. And then it also was one thing I like about books, at least because my books that I personally like to read are business books and more true stories and stuff. And it kind of helps remind you of stuff you might have learned but you might have forgot. And it kind of helps also reawaken some of this education that you've heard and you kind of studied, and it helps you remember and kind of think about, now, like, if I could do that, what could I do better?
Absolutely. Now, Houston, it's very clear from reading your book that you have such an incredible family and the support behind you from a young age. What would you say, first of all, to someone that doesn't have that? I definitely was raised by a mom that was very entrepreneurial, but in the business world. And my mom's been supporting me all morning, learning some new skills. She's still in my life, even though she's, a Skype call away. But I wasn't raised with entrepreneurial skills like you were, and here I am as an entrepreneur. What would you say to someone that doesn't have a family background like you have?
Well, I'm very fortunate and I'm very thankful that I came from a family of entrepreneurs and got to grow up with that experience and being taught about being an entrepreneur and what it takes. And this is kind of where I talk about my book in the school systems. I mean, because not everyone has the same opportunities and will get the same experience that I had. With the school system is I kind of bring awareness that the schools really are one-sided of go to college and get a job, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that, but it really is only that one side of go to college and get a job. They don't really teach that there's this other path of going out, creating a business, whether you go to college or not, and just being your own boss and working for yourself and deciding how much you make. And they really don't teach you that or anything. And they don't really, one thing I've learned, because I've taken business and marketing classes at school, they don't teach you how to do it. They teach you definitions and more literal stuff, not really how you go out and actually do it. And also, they really don't teach you about money in the school systems. It's more your algebra, geometry, math. They don't have like a money math where they teach you how money works and how to make money work for you.
Well, do you think you'll be creating a course that could be taught in the school system? Is that on the horizon, do you think?
Well, I will say that I have some stuff in the works. And I encourage everyone to follow me on my Facebook and Twitter, and also to check out my website, HoustonGunn.com, to stay posted about that.
Very exciting. I think you're such an amazing teacher. I've learned so much from you just from this short time of following you. And definitely when you follow Houston on his Twitter, he has some fun and engaging activities that he does, some contests that draw you in the middle of the night. He's up on his social media, so follow Houston Gunn on Twitter, on Facebook, and you could win some awesome prizes. I've actually got someone this morning that was helping me out. Her teenage daughter is excited to be reading your book. So since we've spoken earlier, we've got a lot of interest going on social media with you. You'll notice your followers are going to increase after this morning.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you also mentioned a lot about how your mom raised you. Can you give some tips of things that she did to specifically guide you to be an entrepreneur and to think for yourself as a young person? What kinds of things did she do with you that helped?
Well, the things that my mom did to help me kind of get this experience of what it's like being an entrepreneur, she put me in the experience. I was really engaged in everything that if she was doing something, I'd always kind of want to learn, or she would make me, like, for example, when I was requesting for the job shadow, I originally approached my mom and asked her if she could ask if I could job shadow him for the day. But she said no, she wouldn't. And she made me actually ask myself. And just small things like that really helped me kind of get into the thing of even always asking for what you want. And some other things that she made me do is she actually owned a dance studio. And one of the things I like to say is I beat her because she opened her dance studio, her first business, when she was 17. And I'm 16 when I opened my first business. And when I was like 8, 9, and 10, she'd always have me involved in the recitals where she would either give me the job of selling concessions or selling merchandise. And she would kind of make a deal with me of, after everything's paid off, whatever you sell, you can kind of keep the profit. And it was kind of even just incentives like that, where she kind of said, where it kind of sets you up where either you're not going to sell that much and you're not really going to make much, or you can put your own effort in to decide how much you're going to make.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's incredible. Well, over the years, have you had anyone that's discouraged you or said, hey, Houston, these ideas aren't going to work? Or has a peer or an adult said anything that's discouraged you, and how have you handled that?
Well, I will say no one's really came right up to me and kind of said that. But I will say the biggest kind of time I had of discouragement and kind of gave me more motivation actually to write my book was back at my old high school in the Washington area, since I'm in Nashville, Tennessee now, as I mentioned earlier, because of music. And it was really kind of just a really year where I started to realize how I talked about the school being one-sided. It really kind of brought light to me of that, and that's where I set my goals of how I plan to graduate from high school millionaire. Because actually my first day of high school as a freshman, we had a welcome to high school assembly where the leadership teacher went on to announce if you get good grades, graduate, go to college, get a degree, and get a job, on average you will earn $1 million in your lifetime, and they were all cheering for that. And I was thinking to myself, are they doing the math? Because if you were to work for 50 years of your life, from age 22 to 72, that's only $20,000 a year, not including any taxes or expenses. And I don't want to live on $20,000 a year, and I sure want to be worth more than $1 million in my lifetime. And that's really where I set the goal of I plan on graduating from high school millionaire. And just my biggest motivation, though, that I actually had, where I kind of got frustrated at school, actually was my 9th grade honors English class, where we had to write a 1,000-word paper of a topic of our choice. And I chose the topic of first trust deed lending, as I've done some private money loans before, actually, since I did my first at age 13. Well, my topic was actually rejected because the teacher said you can't fill 1,000 words on first trust deed lending. So I really didn't want to do any other topics, so I kind of had to, when there was no other option, I had to put one together really overnight. And let's say I'm a junior now I'm a junior in high school now, back in Nashville, and I just finished ninth grade English again because I failed it.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on sticking to what is
Thank
your
you.
values and what's in your heart, because that's always the right way. And I think we all have stories just like that, where someone has thought that they were right, and not everybody's right. So, congratulations on challenging what people say and taking a different route, because that's all life is about, right?
Absolutely.
That's a great lesson. Well, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years? I know that you're planning on graduating high school a millionaire. That's exciting. What else are you looking at over the next few years?
Well, I can say where I want to see myself being, but I can't really say exactly what's going to happen in between, just because ever since this is all launched and everything's changed, it's really been a really fast-paced time, and so I can't really say, but I see myself in the next 5 years being a spokesperson for entrepreneurship and youth and future generations across all different platforms of media.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for you. You're going to be great. Your presence is amazing.
Thank you.
It's so exciting, Houston. And I've learned so much from you just from your book. So imagine how much you're going to spread the word from the stage. That is so exciting. And people can learn more about you. We talked about your Twitter and your Facebook, but HoustonGunn.com. Those are the places to watch you. And is there anything that I've missed that you'd like to add that's exciting that you want people to know about you?
That's really it right at this moment, but always keep tuned in my social media or website to make sure you are up to date with everything that's going on and everything that will be coming up.
Absolutely, and I second that. Let's not miss that, because there's always something exciting going on with your social media. I want to thank you so much today, Houston, for spending some time with us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We look forward to watching you and seeing what's next with Houston Gunn.
Thank you.
Take care now.
You too.